The best way for you to understand how to become a highly skilled AI copywriter is by just watching one work and showing you the behind the scenes and a look over my shoulder as I write copy and show you exactly how to do it. Use AI to make my copy even better and also just write it way quicker. So without any further ado, no long intro, we're gonna get right into the video. I'm gonna show you exactly the step-by-step on how I do this. But right before, I need to lay the foundation of copywriting, the things that you're gonna wanna have in mind before you even start, before you lay pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. First thing you need to understand is that great copy comes from great copy. You need to be constantly on the lookout and on the search for really great copy all of the time. Now, this can be a very, very simple process of creating a brand new email address. With that new email address, signing up and giving your email to basically every single business you can find online who is asking for your email, which will be pretty much all of them, because all of them use copywriting in order to grow and monetize their email list. So how do you want to do that? Now, in the 4D way, what I'm going to do for you is show you exactly where you can go to get tons of copy without having to spend time searching for it. And it is with this, which is the 4D starter swipe file. So this is in my free 4D copywriting community right here on School. It's going to be one of the links down below. And this is what it looks like. There's over 60,000 members inside. If you go over to Classroom, not only are you going to get all of these amazing courses where you can hop in here and see all of this stuff on different emails and me breaking them down and showing you exactly how they work. Not only are you going to get all of that, but I'll also show you exactly where to go to get the swipe file. So it's down here, and you go over to 4D swipe files. This is the 4D swipe file, and you can get everything inside of here. You can see there's long form, short form copy, and long form. We have tons of pieces right here: creatives, challenges, order forms, order bumps, exit offers. But then we hop back here. We also have short form copy. We have ads, subject lines, angles, emails. And in emails, we have tons of different types of emails. So as you can see, guys, you have tons and tons and tons of different pieces of copy that you can go look at, break down. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I would do if I found a really good piece of copy in a different niche, but I wanted to write that exact same piece of copy, take that structure, take the ideas of what made that work, and actually put it in whatever I'm writing. Now, the second big foundation you're gonna wanna have in mind is research. Now, there are 4 different levels of research that you're going to need to keep in mind when you are trying to do this. The first one is client research. This is what you're always going to want to do no matter what. And if you are doing something like a trial project for a client, this is all you're going to need to do, just level 1. The other 3 levels are if you're trying to go really deep. So when we're talking about level 1, right, the client research, why is this important? Well, the client has already done all the other 3 types of research before. So all you need to do is copy the client's voice, talk about exactly what they're talking about, use the angles that they are using, and you'll essentially have all the benefits of all of the different types of research just from doing one type of research. And that is researching the client. And then as for the other 3 types of research, they're a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but I'll just mention them. So the other 3 are market research, target audience research, and finally avatar research. But for this video specifically, all we're going to look at and talk about is the client research as well. So here's the exact process we'll be following in this particular video. 1, I'm going to get a piece of copy that I like. That's it. I signed up to a bunch of lists. I'm going to get a piece of copy that I like. 2 is I'm going to find a prospect that I want to write for, and I'm going to write them an email. But I'm going to take all the things that made the original email work from somebody else in a completely different niche, and I'm going to use that to make this brand new email. And the reason why I want to do it this way is to show you without a shadow of a doubt how simple the AI copywriting space really is right now, especially when you're able to compile a bunch of research and throw it into Claude or ChatGPT and just have it spit you out really good copy from the get-go. So let's take a look and do some quick reading. So this is from a business called Social Self. I'm guessing they help people be more social, and that's, I guess, their whole business model. It goes like this. Hey, Tyson, imagine this. It's Saturday night and you're home alone. It's quiet. There's nothing really going on. And then you get a message from your spouse. Your spouse is in a city 3 hours away from you and their family, and they're at a festival. You see photos of them smiling together, having fun, and enjoying the music. What do you feel? When this happened to me, I initially felt sad. Seeing them all together made me feel like I was missing out. Then I felt a little guilty. After all, I had chosen not to go with them. Why? Because big crowds, loud music, and 3 days of socializing sounds like my worst nightmare. But in that moment, I questioned if I should be there. I started asking myself, why can't I be like him? Why can't I be normal? Then I jumped into their presumptions. They probably think I'm weird. They probably think I don't like them. I bet that they think I'm antisocial or that I just don't care about family time. Then I came back to the decision I made. The decision I made not to go and reminded myself of why. Here, I was trying to paint a picture in my mind that if I was there, we would all be laughing, joking, having the best time together, when in reality, I would have been feeling totally overwhelmed, wouldn't be enjoying it, and then they would have been conscious of me and wouldn't be able to enjoy themselves. The reality of the situation is that they were having a great time doing what they wanted to do, and I was having an equally great time doing what I wanted to do, reading at home alone in a quiet space. Does that make them right and me wrong? Does that make them better and me worse? As much as my mind would like to tell me so, it's not true. We're all so different, and that's what's great. There are moments when we find a middle ground, we can connect, but for the most part, we honor our differences and respect each other for them. Here's something I learned that changed how I handle these moments. Next time you catch yourself in this comparison and should thoughts, try what I call reality check pause. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What would actually happen if I were in their situation right now? Be honest. What am I enjoying about my current choice? And how can I celebrate both our differences instead of judging them? The simple tool that saved me from countless hours of unnecessary self-criticism and FOMO. Instead of getting stuck in my why am I like this loop, I genuinely appreciate that my idea of a perfect evening might be completely different from theirs. The goal isn't to become more extroverted or to force yourself into situations that drain you. The goal is to make peace with who you are and stop apologizing for your authentic preferences. Your nervous system, your energy levels, and your genuine happiness matter more than feeling someone else's idea of normal. If you're ready to dive deeper into building this kind of self-acceptance and creating friendships that honor your authentic self, I'd love to invite you to check out our course, Deepen Your Friendships. Warmly, Molly. So this was a decent email for sure. It relates a lot to the people, to the readers. It actually gives some actionable value as well. Then it ends off with a CTA. CTA could definitely hit harder. I don't even really know what the heck Deepen Your Friendships is. And this email doesn't even seem like it's about deepening a friendship. It seems like it's about coming to terms with your introvertedness. But nevertheless, I understood the structure, and I want to base my next email off of the structure, which is actually going to be an email for Charlie Morgan. I like to use him as an example a lot because he is a B2B business, which are a little bit more difficult and tricky to write for. He owns a lead gen business, so that's his big thing, right? He helps businesses get more leads with client acquisition systems. So as we hop into the email here, you can see that everything is highlighted in yellow, and that's because I categorized each section. So it starts with a hypothetical setup, and then you make a negative connotation to that. Then you reveal the story. Then you talk about your inner thoughts. Okay, stay with me. Then you give the reality check. Then you give a teaching point. Then you ask yourself these questions, what they're saying, final little recap, and then CTA. So if we're going to look from beginning to end, this is the strategy. Hypothetical setup with negative connotation, story reveal, inner thoughts, reality check, teaching point. Ask yourself these 3 questions, recap, and CTA. That's it. That was the structure that I got from that email. So this email was what? Basically like a relationships sort of niche. Now I'm going to take it back into a money-making sort of niche. Subject, the client that should have been number 50 and not number 5. Hey Tyson, imagine this. You closed your 5th client this month. You're celebrating, posting on Facebook about your new W, feeling like you've finally made it as an agency owner. Then you sit down and look at your pipeline for the next month, and it's empty. You realize those 5 clients came from 3 different acquisition methods, 2 random referrals, and 1 you honestly can't even remember how you landed. What do you feel? Well, when this happened to me, I initially felt proud of the wins. Seeing the revenue come in made me feel like I was getting traction. Finally. Then I felt terrified. After all, I had no idea how to repeat what I just did. It felt like lightning in a bottle. Why? Because random success feels amazing until you need to pay bills the next month and you have no system to rely on. But in that moment, I questioned everything about how I was building my agency. I started asking myself, why can't I just scale like those 7-figure agencies? Why can't I just get predictable growth instead of the feast or famine cycle? And then I jumped to their presumptions. Other agency owners probably think I don't even have real systems. They probably see me hustling and grinding and think I'm just getting lucky. I bet they know something I don't about building predictable client flow. Then I came back to the math, but what I was actually doing, the math of closing 5 clients from chaos versus closing 50 clients from systems. Here, I was trying to paint a picture in my mind of what if I just worked harder and hustled more, that eventually I'd hit 7 figures through sheer force of will. When in reality, I would have burned out at 30 clients, my acquisition would have stayed random, and I'd never break past low 6 figures because I was the bottleneck. The reality of the situation is that 7-figure agencies don't work harder. They have predictable acquisition systems that compound, not heroic one-off efforts that expire. Does closing clients from hustle make me a good agency owner? Does building systems instead of grinding make me less dedicated? As much as my mind would tell me just work harder and the revenue will follow, that's not true. Predictable systems and repeatable processes beat random hustle every single time at scale. That is the bolded one right there. There are moments when a manual effort gets you your first few wins, But for the most part, we honor proven acquisition channels and let systems do the heavy lifting towards 7 figures. Here's something I learned that changed my approach to agency growth. Next time you catch yourself celebrating wins without knowing how to repeat them, try what I call the reverse engineer your winners strategy. Ask yourself these 3 questions. On my last 10 clients, which acquisition channel actually produced the most? Not which one felt the best, but which one actually produced. If I could only focus on one proven method for the next 90 days, which would mathematically get me to my revenue goal fastest, which one? And what would my agency look like if I stopped chasing new tactics and just systemized what's already working? The simple framework has saved me from countless shiny object distractions and revenue plateaus. Instead of getting stuck in the trying and hoping something sticks loop, I now double down on proven channels, systemized ruthlessly, and scale predictably. The goal isn't to work less or avoid hustle. The goal is to build acquisition systems that don't require you to reinvent the wheel every 30 seconds if you want to hit 7 figures. Your agency's scalability, your sanity, and your actual path to 7 figures matter more than feeling busy with the tactics that don't compound. If you're ready to build a proven acquisition system that will scale you predictably, and you want the exact frameworks that take agencies from random wins to 7-figure growth, check out how we help agencies systemize their way to this goal here. Or book a time with our team and we'll show you exactly how to turn your current wins into predictable, scalable client acquisition systems. Best, Charlie. So look, this was actually a pretty long email, a longer email than usual. If I had to guess, it's probably like 400 characters plus. Usually they're only about 200 to 300, but it would have taken me probably an hour plus to write an email like that just from complete scratch. But instead, it took me like 20 to 30 minutes and just a few copy and pastes. And then I actually added a little bit of human element to it at the very end. Now I want to take you through the actual Claude chat that I use so that you can see what was going on in my mind when I was writing these emails. So let's check it out. I was going to say, I'm going to paste you an email and here's the structure for it. And then I pasted the email and it said, all right, I saved the structure and then that's it. And then I said, okay, this is the email. And then I gave them an idea. So what I actually did is I took one of Charlie Morgan's emails that he already sent out to his list. And I took it so that it would understand the context. Now, usually you want to give it like multiple emails, multiple YouTube video transcripts. But again, I wanted to do this quick and dirty. So I just gave it one email and I pasted it inside of here and said, this is what the context, this is what it's going to be about. But I want you to use the structure from this other email. And I want you to talk about this client in this completely different niche. And then it did. It gave me this email. Now, one of the biggest skills you can use with Claude is just by arguing with it. Tell it exactly what is wrong and exactly what you don't like. I said, nah, this email should be about the reader getting more clients because that's what their current problem is. They want clients for their agency. Whereas at the first draft, it made it something completely different. So I said that, and then I said, nah, this is the mindset things about getting one client. Our angle should be about predictably closing clients with using systems that actually help them scale. Dream state is reaching 7 figures, not sending manual outreach. So bam, I keep arguing with it, and I give it more context on exactly what I want, and then finally it gives it to me. And now the other amazing thing is that once you lock in, Claude actually gives you an email that you do like. Now you can use that exact same chat and just say, well, make me an email about this, make me an email about that, make me an email about this, and it will still have all the context that you already gave it, so it will be able to give you another banger email. I'll give you another example. The YouTube tutorial that cost me $12,000. Hey Tyson, imagine this. You've been watching copywriting videos on YouTube for 6 months straight. You've watched the best copywriters break down frameworks. You've taken notes on headlines, hooks, and psychological triggers. Then a potential client asks you to write a VSL and you freeze. You realize that you know 1,000 tactics but can't execute one complete project that actually converts. What do you feel? When this happened to me, I initially felt confident. Seeing all that my free knowledge at my fingertips made me feel like I was investing in my education the smart way. Then I felt stupid. After all, I had spent half a year consuming content but couldn't land a single paying client to save my life. Why? Because YouTube University taught me advanced fascinations on Monday, beginner headlines on Tuesday, and expert level offer stacking on Wednesday, and zero context on what order I actually needed to learn this stuff in. But in that moment, I questioned if I was even cut out for copywriting. I started asking myself, why can't I just piece this together like any other normal person? Why can't I connect the dots from all the free information? Then I jumped into their presumptions. My clients can probably tell I learned from YouTube. I bet they know that I have no structured foundation. I'm just faking it, surface level tactics. Then I came back to what I had actually built, a Frankenstein education where I knew calculus but couldn't do basic multiplication. Here, I was trying to paint a picture in my mind that if I just watched more expert breakdowns or found one secret video I was missing, that suddenly everything would click into place. When in reality, I needed someone to teach me 2 + 2 before teaching me derivatives. And I needed it in an order that actually built competence instead of confusion. Reality of the situation was that YouTube gave me correct information in the worst possible sequence, while copywriters making bank learned fundamentals first, then advanced tactics, with real feedback on the work along the way. Does learning for free make me resourceful? Does paying for structured education make me dependent? As much as my mind would like to tell me all the information is out there for free, just work harder, that's not true. Structured learning with feedback beats random free tactics every single time when you're trying to get paid. There are moments when YouTube fills knowledge gaps, but what's important is sequential learning that matches where you actually are, not just what some algorithm thinks that you should be. Here's something I learned that changed how I approach copywriting education. Next time you catch yourself in a spiral of tutorial hopping and just one more video syndrome, try what I call the second grader test. Ask yourself these questions. If I had to execute a paid project tomorrow, could I actually do it start to finish? Or do I know a bunch of isolated tactics? Am I learning in the order I need to build a foundation, or am I just jumping between beginner and advanced concepts normally? What's giving me feedback on whether I'm actually improving or just consuming content in a vacuum? This simple framework has saved me from countless months of learning that never translated to income. Instead of getting stuck in free information trap, I now learn sequentially, get real feedback, and focus on execution over consumption. The goal isn't to stop learning or avoid free resources. The goal is to stop confusing random information consumption with actual skill building that gets you paid. Your ability to land clients, your confidence in executing projects, and your actual income matter more than any YouTube gurus you watched. If you're ready to learn copywriting in the right order with a 90-day structured academy, daily group calls with real feedback, and a 90-day client acquisition system and community that helps you get paid, join the 40 Bootcamp for $99 a month, learning like a second grader in calculus class. And it says, stop learning like a second grader in calculus class. So that's an email that I could have wrote and made for my own list talking about my paid community. So I just took one email from a completely different niche and applied it to some B2B and then also my own business. And again, it took me about, how many prompts was that? That was like 6 or 7 prompts. It took me like 15 minutes and I wrote both of these emails just like that. So just to recap for you, all you literally want to do is you want to start finding really great copy. You want to break down the structure of that copy, understand what is behind the scenes and what makes it work. Next, you want to hop into AI and give it the structure, tell it exactly what you want. Then you want to go and give AI the context of who you are writing for. Then you just argue with it until the email is pretty much to your liking, right? About 80% there. You add in a little bit more human details in the final draft and boom, you have an email. You do this enough times and you make these emails for enough of these businesses, you send the emails to the businesses saying, hey, look, I made you some emails, I made you some copy. Then inevitably, once they see your copy and like it, they will want you to be their copywriter, work on their team, be their marketer. And of course, that's how you become a full-time AI copywriter. Now, this was like a more bird's eye view. Again, if you want the actual 90-day step-by-step plan, that's down below in the 4D Bootcamp. And also, if you want the free 8-hour copywriting course, which does take you through start to finish right here on YouTube for free, that link will be down below in the description as well. So that's it for today. And of course, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.